Podcast fam, Lauren Asmus is a community organizing and public affairs strategist with 10 years of experience serving nonprofit and corporate clients. As the director of StartGNV, Lauren serves as the chief project manager, event planner, and community liaison. The way she sees it, the organization's mission of growing the innovation ecosystem of Greater Gainesville is an art. That's A-R-T. It requires serving startups, tech companies, and their employees by fostering a collaborative atmosphere, that's the A, identifying and providing resources, that's the R, and making Gainesville a competitive hub for talent, that's the T, A-R-T. It's an art, right, Lauren? Today, we talk about Gainesville. Enjoy. You are listening to WHOA Podcast, coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the WHOA GNV Podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go, whoa. I am your host, Collin Austin, and my co-host, Michael Dees, is out sick today. He's not here. Mike, I hope you feel better, man. And if you are a Michael Dees fan, like I said last episode, send him a little love note. Say, Michael, we're thinking about you. We cannot wait for you to be back. He would really appreciate that. You guys, I'm excited to get into today's episode. But before we do, I want to thank some sponsors. Mad love to Kyle Cohan and the team over at Leonardo's Pizza Millhopper. Leonardo's Pizza offers the same classic food, family-friendly atmosphere, local beers on draft and in cans, and they even have an upgraded wine selection. During these times, they are still implementing safety precautions, of course, with masks for guests not at a table, masks for all team members, limited seating, and these guys have even purchased some UV sanitizing lights to make sure that their restaurant is virus-free. I love their heart and their heart for Gainesville. Order today at leonardosmillhopper.com or by giving them a call at 352-376-2001. Kyle has been such a huge supporter of this show. Love you, dude. Thank you so very much. You are the best. You guys, go order dinner tonight at leonardosmillhopper.com. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, all of those Colliers Gainesville, those Colliers International signs all over Gainesville, those are the signs of progress, my friends. The GNV Commercial Advisory Team of Colliers Gainesville is the region's top commercial real estate team. When you need to buy or sell commercial land or buildings, find a new space for your business, or lease out a property you own, turn to the GNV Commercial Advisory Team. They close more than 60 deals a year. Shouldn't yours be one of them? The answer is
yes.
She picked up on my cue. Great job, Lauren. Check out all of their services at colliers.com/Gainesville. I'm so glad that worked out perfectly. I would have hated to have had to edit that.
I told you really explicit instructions.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
You're doing great. You guys, again, that's colliers.com/Gainesville. Dan and the team have been just epic supporters of ours. Thank you so much for everything you guys do. And they're helping us with the deal right now. Super grateful for them. So let them help you with your real estate deal. Again, that's colliers.com/Gainesville. And Lauren, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You guys, I'm so excited to introduce this guest to you. Today on the show, we have Lauren Asmus, Director of StartGNV. Lauren, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Lauren and I connected a few weeks ago, and really, this is what I love. Like when it was Startup GNV.
Yes.
And then went through this little rebrand.
Yes.
And is now StartGNV.
Yes.
And just, I don't know, we've had this like great connection, a lot of similar vision for where this community is going. I love to collaborate and, share social media posts with StartGNV. And it's just, I'm so just psyched about this community and this entrepreneurial hub that Gainesville is becoming. And so I'm excited that you're the director over there and we're able to have a conversation about a lot of this stuff tonight, talk about the future of Gainesville a little bit. But before we do that, let's kind of dive into your story. I want to hear more. I want to hear more about Lauren and how, she got to this point and how you're this director of StartGNV. So let's get into all of it. So tell us your story, please.
Where do you want me to start?
Wherever you would like. That's what makes this so much fun.
Okay.
It's like we have complete control.
Fun story. I went and got my master's degree at Florida State and
What were you thinking?
I know.
I'm just kidding.
Don't tell anybody. It's a show a secret. And was studying access to information about food in the media and how that impacts low-income people in particular. And I basically realized that leading the very privileged life that I have, that I had no idea what I was talking about, and decided to join this really crazy program called AmeriCorps Vista. So I, on a whim, moved out to Montana and lived in poverty for several years. I made like $800 a month and worked for nonprofits, and I built community gardens. I worked with women and children who were facing homelessness, and really just fell in love with Montana and made this really funny joke at a brewery. Montana brewery culture is like a really big thing. And this guy hired me to be his executive assistant because of this funny joke. So I ended up venturing into the world of public affairs and conservation and politics quite on accident. And that is how I stayed 10 years in Montana when I was supposed to go for a year. Then I met a boy at the same brewery in Montana who happened to be coming back down to UF to go get his PhD. So after several visits to Gainesville, I was like, this is my place. These are my people. I'm totally in. I love Gainesville. I don't know what all those people in Tallahassee were lying to me about when they were like, don't go to Gainesville. And moved down here. So was working for the workforce board for a little bit and kind of had a soul-searching moment where I was like, what do I want to do? I wanted to step away from politics a little bit. And I said, tech is the place for me. And having a communications and a nonprofit background and, a lot of strategy and marketing, I came across this position, and that is how I'm the director of StartGNV now. It's really super random, but I'm stoked.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So when did you get to Gainesville?
Gosh, must have been a little over 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what's it been like? How did you even get connected into the position? Was this something that you saw a job listing, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go apply for that, but how did you get worked in?
Yeah, so I actually applied for a job somewhere else and didn't get it, but the woman that I interviewed with was like, but I want to tell you about this other job and you should interview. And so I did. I got connected with Aiden Augustine, the president of the board at the time, and that's how I ended up with StartGNV. I mean, it's really, Gainesville is truly a little big town, right? So if you know one person, you get a referral to another person, and that's how you get a job. So I was super lucky.
Yeah. The looking at Gainesville, were you familiar with it before getting here at all?
Yeah.
I mean,
so
I know there's always the Florida rival,
right,
but
right. I mean,
had you spent any time in Gainesville before that, or no?
Yeah, actually, I traveled down here really regularly for a full year before I moved here, and I remember the first time I went down to Cypress and Grove and sat down and had a beer, and I was like, I love this place.
How did it compare to the Montana breweries?
I mean, it's very similar, to be honest. It's there's this sense of home, you show up, right, and you talk to the same bartender, or is that the correct thing to say if you're a bartender at a brewery, the brewmaster, the brew liaison, and it just felt like I was part of a community. So I really got to explore Gainesville with fresh eyes before I even came here, and then moved here and just took a deep dive in. I was super stoked to get out in the community, and working for the workforce board, you work so closely with local employers and the chamber that I just was very lucky in how I was basically spoon fed all of the best parts of Gainesville.
What was when was the first time you were, in this ecosystem?
In
whether it was visiting or whatever.
The first time? Oh gosh, what year is it?
2021 now.
I must have started visiting around 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's so crazy because the reason I asked that is like Gainesville has changed so much. I'm always curious, like when people first kind of got connected to Gainesville, because I remember in 2004 when I started this scooter dealership. I mean, there were just no resources. There was no incubators, accelerators. I've talked about that multiple times on the show. People are probably tired of me talking about that actually, but it was just like I kind of had to figure out everything on my own. And now we have this great entrepreneurial hub and great organizations like StartGNV. You know, like it's just I don't know. It's just really, really cool to kind of see where we're at in 2021 versus where we were at when I started in 2004.
Right. Well, and there's so much, but you know, what's really funny about the like innovation ecosystem is that there's a lot people don't know. Like people don't know that we have this thriving biotech scene here in Gainesville. So it's I've heard it's changed in leaps and bounds, but I think some people don't even know that. It's kind of amazing. So
what's been the most exciting thing for you since you've been here?
The most exciting thing, like in my life, or like in this job?
I would say in this job. Like now that you've got, how long have you been in the position for?
Since October.
Since October.
Yeah.
So you're in the position since October. Is there anything that just like really just stood out?
Hearing
whether it's a business or anything.
Hearing the stories of the startups here. There are some like really emotional ones. And I think like I've been on the phone with people a couple of times and like almost cried just hearing like how helped they were, and that like we have, startup founders here who have built up to scale ups who are willing to go through and read your email line by line and help you write like the perfect email to an investor. And that for me just like really made me say like, oh my gosh, I'm in the right place. Like this is amazing. And definitely had like a pretty tearful moment with like Victoria Liu from Bippo. I don't know if you know her, but she's just doing amazing things. And she just talked about the support she felt from, her fellow entrepreneurs here. And it was very moving.
Can you hand me that real quick? You see like against the window, the like actual picture, like against the window. I think this is it. Yeah. So I was kind of like mentoring and like helping Victoria, and she I don't know, she's an artist and like she legit made this. Like she gave this to me as a gift. Can you see that, James? Isn't that cool?
She's wonderful.
She like took all the different logos of everything I'm involved in and dated it, and that was in 2019. Yeah, she's awesome. Dude,
she has like all of these like I don't even know how to like begin to like unfold all the layers of Victoria, right? Like she was a model, and like she's like an amazing social media person, like and then she's an auditor. Like she has everything going for her. She's just really, really a pleasure to work with.
It's cool. Yeah, we'll have to get her on the show at some point for sure.
Heck yeah.
So talk to me about like kind of the, here you are in this new position. What are the roles and responsibilities? What are the things that you're focused on?
Oh, yeah.
Now?
Well, I'm focused on everything because I am the Army of One full-time employee with 15 bosses. So we have 15 board members, which is really fun. But they're all really amazing. So a lot of my day is like logistics, right? Like running the trains, getting the board meetings set up. And then the rest of my day is really cool. And my family members have even like piped up about this. They're like, do you just talk to awesome people on the phone all day long? And I was like, yes, that is literally what I do, is collect stories of the innovation ecosystem and like find a way to like show off how kick-ass Gainesville is.
Has it been tough because of the pandemic and not really being able to
normally I would say like it's so much better to have FaceTime with people, right? But I have been so lucky to just be able to like hop on Zoom and have really legit conversations with people, and it feels like a heart to heart. I will be happy when we can be back in person again, but for the most part, it's been really successful, and we've just had like some great networking and been able to show off some really cool stuff that people are doing in the community. And we're still, we get out there and get our work done, like social distance style and safely. You saw, like, we had the video with the launder guys, like we're all masked up in the background. You can't see us, but
Yeah. I feel like people are starting to get zoomed out. So are you getting zoomed out? Yeah, been zoomed out.
It's Zoom fatigue is real.
Yeah. It was like, it's funny because I think a lot of people were all like, there was this conversation kind of at the beginning of the the pandemic. It was like, what's gonna stick? I remember when we were doing our coronavirus episodes, like, what do you think's gonna stick post pandemic? And everybody was like, like this whole thing, like doing Zoom meetings and meeting people, it really saves a lot of time. You can you don't have to travel to go have coffee with somebody. And so everybody's like, I think this Zoom meeting thing's really gonna stick. And now I'm like asking that question. Everybody's like, yeah, like, I can't wait to go have the cup of coffee, like at the coffee house in person and not do the Zoom. But
yeah, for sure. Well, I don't know. Like, I was leaving to come here and my partner was like, wait, you're going there?
Like in person across the table?
Yeah. I was like, yes, I'm putting on pants and like makeup to go to this work meeting this time.
You're like, I'll breathe into my microphone. We'll keep our distance. We'll be good.
For the record, we are very far apart.
That's right. And that, I mean, honestly, this has been like kind of one of those saving graces for me.
Right.
Because especially when it comes to business, like I'm very social. Like I want to have that connection. And I've been telling everybody, I'm like, the podcast has been my networking, my happy hour, my, like all of it, like all in one after hours, like right here in person. So it's been kind of my saving grace through all of this.
Do you ever go back and listen to your own podcast and just like giggle to yourself?
The only time, it's funny, I don't really go back and listen to them. The only exception to that is sometimes you kind of get that nostalgia. Like, let me go back to the very first 5 episodes. Yeah. let me go see how far, like how much progress we've made. So every once in a while, I'll like dive into like the first 5 or 10 episodes just to kind of like be like, man, almost as like a pat yourself on the back moment. Be like, man, we've come a long way. Good job. But no, like in terms of like recent episodes, like I won't re-listen to this.
Oh, really?
Just so you know, like I won't re-listen to it.
That hurts my feelings.
I mean, like if there's something that I'm like, oh, like I remember so-and-so saying something about X, Y, and Z, like let me go, so there's been that. A lot of times it's when I'll have somebody text me and be like, man, you did an episode where you talked about depression and entrepreneurship. Do you remember which episode that was? Right. And I'm like, yeah, it was with so-and-so. And so I'll go and find the link and send it to them. So
okay, well, this time next year, we're going to rewatch our episode.
This.
But I have like a projector. We'll watch it like on a big screen outside. And we'll see how many changes there are from then to now with like COVID stuff or like if one of us has less hair or something. I don't know.
That would probably be me. Out of the two of us, that'd probably be me.
I don't know, man. This COVID stuff is like really, I look like Storm now.
Actually, that will be a lot of fun. I've actually this is going to be kind of a preview for anybody who's listening. We're talking about doing like a mastermind session. So we do our mastermind episodes every 10 episodes. So it's like on the 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, so forth. We're thinking about doing a mastermind episode where we bring back some of those early guests that we had in the first, season, right, to kind of see where they're at now. And to kind of get them around the table, kind of say, okay, it's been 3 years since we last talked to you. Like, what's going on?
Right, right.
I think it'd be so fascinating. So I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Just to check in. I just invited myself to your mastermind episode.
Yeah,
welcome.
Let's do that. That's great. So let's talk about being connected into the startup ecosystem and really just the business ecosystem, the entrepreneurial ecosystem. I mean, what is the feeling in Gainesville right now? Like, is there anything exciting happening? Is there anything that you feel we need help with? Like maybe this podcast can almost serve as a catalyst in that. Like where can people help?
Oh gosh, that was like 7 questions in one.
Let's break this down. Sometimes it happens. I apologize.
Tell me all the answers. Okay. Well, that's a really good question.
Like, is there an object? Let's start with it. Is there an objective? Like, I'm going to try to make this easier. Sorry, everybody. Like, is there a single objective like on your plate right this second?
Yes, there is.
What is that?
We really want to see like everybody connected. I mean, that's StartGNV's number one goal is like finding a way to help all the moving parts of the startup ecosystem like fit together and, kind of the rising tide element. So I think that's the really big thing is like figuring out who's doing what and who can partner with who. And like connecting all the dots, especially for people who are new to town, because we serve employees and we serve, employers. So being able to connect the two with like really a nice list of all the things is a huge thing, but also having people really willingly like work together to refer people and get them to the right place is super important. So that's, I think, one of the bigger goals is like, how do we connect all these people, like when there are so many amazing people doing all this stuff, and get them to know each other. So a lot of my day is like, oh, you should meet this person. And I'm sure people are tired of getting emails from me, but it's like, there are so many people that have things in common that have never heard of each other in Gainesville, which is crazy to me. So that's our really big initiative right now, is like connecting people. I think the other thing is really just figuring out like that swim together, right? So like, what is the goal for Gainesville and how do we make it happen? And I think everybody just wants to see it grow and thrive and succeed and bring talent and retain talent. So those are several of the goals. I wouldn't even say there's just one, because you can't like do one without the other.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because for a small, Gainesville's considered a small town. You're like, you always hear that, like, oh, it's a small world. Like, I can't believe I ran into you. Blah, blah,
right.
But then I have people who reach out to me and say, oh my gosh, I never even knew that business existed until I heard it on your show. And I'm always like, what? Like, really? This happens? Like, it's the most fascinating thing to me.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, and I'm still like, I work in this and like people come to me with information willingly, and every day I'm learning about something totally new. Like, did you know that there is a sorority at UF dedicated to innovation?
I had no idea.
Yeah. Amazing. Iota Alpha, I think is what it's called. But it's like every day something new like that pops across my plate.
So having this, huge objective, I mean, it sounds like from what you said, your day is really meeting a lot of people, connecting to people, trying to connect people. Are there any other ways that you're kind of navigating that? Are there any marketing that you guys are doing? Anything that really bridges those connections?
Yeah. So, we're obviously working really hard on like boosting our social media right now. As you've seen all of my posts, like with me in my house, trying to like show off our local startups. But I think in the summer, we're going to try to launch a pretty big marketing campaign to draw talent to the area. So, it's like a twofold thing, right? Like keep the talent we have here and then also bring more here. So that is really our big marketing push right now, is like showing off what Gainesville has to offer, collaborating with other people to like reshare their stuff, and getting more people to like see that Gainesville is like the hidden gem of Florida, right? Like, you want to live somewhere really cool? Come to Gainesville.
How do we change that perception? Because the perception is very much like Gainesville's this college town, right?
Right.
It's like, this is where you go to school. Like, these are very similar things that we talk about all the time. It's like, the main missions of our podcast have been, okay, we want to retain a lot of that top 6 talent coming out of UF. We want to bring, experienced talent to Gainesville. We want to bring investor dollars to Gainesville. Like, this is a great place to start a business, but not a great place to scale a business. Like, I hear all the same things, right? So, but how do we actually start to change that perception that this is a college town?
Oh gosh, I wish I had the answer to that.
It's so tough, right?
I think that is what we're all working on, and like working to collaboratively figure out with our partners and other players in the innovation ecosystem. But I think it really takes, intentional exposure. So the minute you can, help a student get outside of the 4 walls of campus. And I literally was having a beer with someone at Cypress and Grove, and they had no idea that there was a restaurant across the street.
Right.
And, breaking down some of those silos and showing people all the really cool things that Gainesville has to offer, I think is the first step. So really it's about like grabbing a neighbor and grabbing a friend and helping their experience here. So if you know someone new, like
holding their hand to the restaurant across the street.
Yes. But I think it's just going to take like testimonials, and once it catches on, it'll catch on. But there's, some intentional work going on behind that to try to like highlight that Gainesville is not just a college town, that you have so many opportunities here as a business, as a young professional, as someone who wants to raise a family here. Even as a student, coming fresh out of college, this is the one bit of advice that I would really give to someone is like, I took a position in a small town and was able to move up in 3 years instead of like 13 years to the same position, right? So
awesome.
Gainesville's startup ecosystem has so many opportunities to like get in the ground really early and be a really big part of like a company as they grow. And you might not get that in a big city.
You know, the thing they don't realize is that they can do that while they're in school.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I was speaking yesterday to a class at UF, and I'm just like, you guys need to cross the street, like cross 13th, cross University.
But don't jaywalk.
Yeah. But like, get outside of that campus border, because, you'll discover a lot of these awesome companies. I'm like, you can intern for amazing companies. Like, I always feel like the internships are like, oh, let me get outside of Gainesville. Let me find, internships outside of Gainesville. But there's so many amazing companies right here in Gainesville that they could be involved with even while they're in school, and they get almost like a head start, I feel like. I don't know. That's definitely been one of those things that I've been really, really pushing to college students. I'm like, go get involved right here. You guys are missing an opportunity not getting involved while you're in school.
Yeah. Well, and part of that is, a lot of students are going to want to like bunker down. They're here to go to school. They're here to have the college experience. And then they want to like leave and go to a big city. And that happens. But if we can leave an impression on them about how awesome Gainesville is and get them exposed to it, they're going to remember us and want to come back. So that's, it's like, you can't quit us. You can't quit Gainesville.
Yeah. And I would say that we got in that conversation with the guys from Launder, talking about Gainesville. Yeah. And, and I think that perception is starting to change. Like it's slow. We're slowly getting away from that it's just a college town. I'm starting to hear it be referred to as this entrepreneurial hub a little more often than I used to, so I think that kind of messaging really, really helps.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We'll get there.
Well, it's like this is the pinnacle of like creativity in Florida, right? Like, who is from Gainesville? Tom Petty is from Gainesville. Like, you have some cultural icons that are from Gainesville. Like Maya Rudolph is from Gainesville. People don't know that. And so I think this is a city that really just like fosters that kind of thinking outside of the box and do it weird and do it your way. And that's what entrepreneurs need, is like the free roaming ability to kind of do something different. And I love that about Gainesville. Like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. If there's one thing that you think Gainesville needs right now, what is that thing?
Ooh.
That's a big question.
Well, we just got an Anthropology, so I feel like I'm pretty set. That's a women's clothing store.
Like,
no.
Like, I think I studied that in college, maybe.
No, not the topic. Clothing. No, Gainesville, that's a tough question. If I had to choose just one, I think it would be really nice to be able to demonstrate that like you can get funding and stay in Gainesville. That is one of the like big things that we're dealing with, is like retaining our scale ups, right? Like, you're a startup, you're doing really well, and it's like, we don't want you to leave Gainesville. Stay in Gainesville.
It's kind of like, the guys from Launder kind of jumped into that, saying, like, we have the ability to, if anything, this pandemic has helped with being comfortable with more Zoom-like activity, right? And the ability to connect via video chat to investors. You don't necessarily have to have the investors come to Gainesville. You can, you can pitch via the internet.
Right.
So that's definitely an interesting, direction. Like, if there's more of that, I don't know. It's gonna be super interesting to see how things evolve over the next 10 years. Because I look back to my time, like I said, getting back into entrepreneurship in 2004, and I'm like, man, we're so far beyond.
Yeah.
Like, there's been so much progress, and for that, like, I'm proud, and I'm like excited that I kind of get to play a little bit of a role in that,
Well, I guess I'm going to reverse the question on you.
Sure.
Like, what, as an entrepreneur, like, what would you say would be a valuable thing for Gainesville to like have? Like, what didn't we have that you would need?
I just try to stay focused on these particular missions of, all right, like, what can I do to like really keep more of this talent here? So I'm speaking at UF as frequently as possible, trying to like show these kids like, hey, there's a lot of opportunity here. You don't have to leave. I'm trying to like really share this podcast, get this podcast out there, make people realize that, hey, like I want them to see businesses and hear from leaders like yourself and be like, this is a place that we should really consider moving our business to. And so I just try to stay very focused on that, hoping that I can do my little small piece, in these missions. We've successfully had people move their business to Gainesville because of the show. And like, when I hear that, I'm like, man, that's impactful. Like, we're actually contributing and making making a difference. Right. But man, pinpointing to that number one thing, like where that focus is.
So you're going to ask me the question, but you don't know the answer.
Yeah, I think it's really just the one thing that I've learned is the more collaboration, the better.
Right.
You always hear like, I don't even know like that real quote, but it's like, something about, not going very far, you go alone, like, but you're gonna go far by going together, right? And that there's so much truth to that. The more you can collaborate and connect within the community and share resources to achieve, these missions, the better.
Right.
So I'm just trying to build as many connections and collaborations within the community as possible.
Well, and I love conversations like this because I think when you get a really good question, it's like, oh wow, like this is the point that we need to like jump from, right? And start like figuring it out. And I don't think there is one answer about what's going to make a better Gainesville for entrepreneurs and innovators. I will say that like, if you look at, this is really nerdy, ecosystems, right? And themselves are comprised of all these moving parts. And so if you compare like an actual like ecosystem, like a biological ecosystem to the innovation ecosystem, you can't just like save the turtles, right? You can't just save the habitat. Like there has to be efforts combined to achieve those goals. And so creating a rising tide in an innovation ecosystem requires a lot of moving parts have assistance at the same time. And they all kind of successfully get help. So
yeah, it's good stuff.
Save the turtles.
So let me shift direction just a little bit. I'm very curious as to like what your elbows like slipping off the table. Very curious as to, what does your day look like? As a leader, like I have to feel there's got to be like almost this intense pressure. You know, people. You're a one woman show, really, right? Like, what kind of pressure is that for you?
I mean, it's a lot of pressure, but it's also like the most fun day ever. I wake up and I literally read news clips to figure out what's going on around town, and I don't just read like business or the startup news. Like, I want to know about all of the moving parts of Gainesville and like what is making Gainesville tick, and like what are other people doing in their events? Like, how are people connecting? And so I spend my morning doing that, and then usually end up talking to 2 or 3 different people on the phone.
What kind of resources do you use to get that information?
People like yourself. Like, I ask, like, is there anybody you think I should meet? I never say no to talking to someone. I think it's really important to like hear what everyone has to say, especially if they disagree with you, right? Like, those are the people you really want to talk to. So I've just been spending time like getting all of the diverse viewpoints of Gainesville. And that is really what a lot of my day is like figuring out what people are doing and like how we can connect people.
So what's next? What's next for you guys? I mean, what's going on in the month? This is releasing March 15th. What's going on in the month of March, and as we start to focus on heading into the second quarter.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that. Thank you for that softball. Well, March is Women's History Month.
I don't ever intend to throw softballs. Come on, ever. Just so you guys know.
March is Women's History Month, and we're really excited.
March is what?
Women's History Month.
Okay.
And then there's International Women's Day, March 8th. So we're just excited to celebrate like all of Gainesville's like women innovators. So you'll see some really cool stuff on our social media this month.
Anybody who's like super impressing you right now?
Your fabulous intern who's volunteered to be on our social media posts.
Oh, yeah, you? Sarah?
Just gonna choose the challenge, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did that just happen like before the episode or something? Oh, right on.
I will like take an opportunity to get someone roped into Start GNV activities any point in time. We're doing a workshop with We Advance Tech Together, WAT. I don't know if you've heard of them, but on supporting women in the workplace. So that's gonna be really cool. We're doing an Ask Me Anything with women leaders in the innovation ecosystem, which is, you can ask them anything. So that'll be a really fun thing. I think March 24th is when we'll have that. So we've got a lot of really cool stuff. And then I believe we'll be doing some mentor speed dating, details to be announced.
Mentor speed dating?
Mentor speed dating. So it's like meet different people who can help you grow in your career field in the innovation, tech, or startup space. And you'll like rotate in Zoom rooms to meet different people.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's like networking, but from your house, with potato chips.
And pants are optional.
The best way to network.
That's awesome. So let me kind of dive more into your personal story a little bit. So how, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Well, I am like I said, drinking the Gainesville Kool-Aid. So hoping to settle down in Gainesville, get a house here, and keep working the innovation ecosystem, right? It'd be great to watch Start GNV grow and continue to be a leader, and continue to help local entrepreneurs and innovators find their voice. And that's something I'm just really passionate about. I have a strong background in community outreach and PR, so I really just want to continue to build that message about why Gainesville is the place that you should be. And I will do that from any platform that I can. So
what's the most impressive Gainesville company in your opinion right now? Well, the one that's standing out.
Oh gosh. There are so many doing so many different things.
Can you give me top 3 maybe?
Okay. Let me give you a startup, a scale up, and a big tech company. How about that?
Yeah.
Here are 3 things that Lauren loves in Gainesville right now. Really super impressed with Ming from Orchard. She's doing incredible things. If you don't know about Orchard, have you spoken with Ming yet?
Yeah, I have, and I met her personally. Is she in Boston right now?
I'm not sure. I think she's been traveling a lot.
Okay.
But she is just the most wonderful, good-hearted person, and her company works to connect older adults with technology, and their whole thing is empathy. So making tech not a stressful experience for older adults, and in the era of COVID, that's so important. So I would say I'm incredibly
starting to become stressful for this 38-year-old over here. I'm
same. I think that's a really amazing one. A scale up that's really cool. We can always talk about Aiden and Feather, right?
Yeah,
how amazing has Feather been doing during COVID and working with events associations and keeping them going in a time where we can't meet together in person. I think that's just really incredible, and just got to give some love to Aiden for being an amazing employer, and he's community leader. Right. He's done so much, and he's stepping down as president of Start GNV's board this year. So we have a new board president, but he has done so much during his tenure. But just what I have heard about Feather from a community standpoint is so impressive, how happy their employees are and
awesome.
How well they've been doing through the pandemic, I think is really super impressive. And
I really want to get them on here at some point.
Oh, you should. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know that they just recently transitioned to a 4-day work week as well.
Yes.
I would be super interested to kind of hear.
Oh, you'll have to ask about it. And then, I think there are so many amazing, larger tech companies here. I don't even know where to begin to talk about all of them, but I just did an interview with Infotech, with the chair of their Committee for Diversity and Inclusion, and they are doing some really awesome cultural stuff over there, building up their workforce, just how they stay connected during a pandemic is amazing. And then they do you follow Infotech at all?
I mean, just from what I see through social media exchanges and stuff.
You've got to, like, I'll send you an article about, they returned like, I think it was like over $1 million to the taxpayers of a state with like research that they did. They're like killing it over there, but I just love like the infotech culture is one of my favorite things, and the fact that they've like used this time to build a really strong like diversity and inclusion initiative, and how active they are in that and how committed they are to that is wonderful. So those would be like 3 of my favorite highlights that I like to talk about in Gainesville from the startup and tech scene.
Cool. So for people who want to kind of get to know you as this leader, what are some hot, like, what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun?
Yeah, when you're not working, like what's Lauren doing?
Well, right now I'm rewatching all of Downton Abbey. Very important. Yeah, my partner and I are like speaking to each other and like, oh, well, thou shalt not go to the living room before having sherry. And we actually have been drinking sherry while watching Downton Abbey, which is like so old lady, right? But it's fine. It's fine. We're fine. I really like to work in the yard. Is that weird?
No, like, I think that's very like almost like meditation in a way.
Yeah.
It's like very
like
relaxing.
mowing the grass.
Yeah,
I've been
I would never
weeks.
mow the grass. I have really bad allergies, and I'm like, I'm never doing that.
I'll mow the grass for you if you want.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people are like, man, that's like my time. That's like my thinking time. It's like I get a lot of clarity doing that.
Yeah, for sure. And then I love exploring old Florida. Like there's so many weird little towns in Florida and like cool things to do. So since I moved back to Florida, I've just been spending my time like exploring Florida.
Okay. Any place that you would say, gotta go here, 100%?
I'm just trying to think of my favorite. There are so many good adventures that I've had. I stayed in a double wide in Dunellen. That was pretty fun. It was like decorated in all this like tacky like fishing stuff, and then you could like walk outside and go hang out. But oh, you know what is really fun? There is a pit outside of Gainesville somewhere that some dude has turned into like a garden. Have you heard of this? A pit. Like I think it's like a mining pit. Yes.
Okay. Random.
Don't quote me on any of this. This is just being recorded. Yeah, I'm gonna have to find it, but it's like you can walk around and like see these crazy old bonsai trees and like really cool local plants, and there's like a little like at the very bottom of the pit there's a lake, and they have like concerts.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Where's this at?
It's gotta be like 30 minutes away from here.
No way.
Yeah, there's some really crazy like fun hidden Florida stuff that you can go do. They have like a couple animals in there you can go look at, but and they live in there too.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to like link that up.
The people from the pit.
If we Google the pit, Florida, will it pop up?
I think so.
All right.
Yeah, that's you got to go see it.
I'm always like looking like for fun outside the box, like random things to do with my kids, and like because they're like 11 and 7 now, so it's like I don't know. I'm just always trying to find fun stuff to do.
You got to take them. I mean, how hard is it to get lost in a pit?
Yeah. Like. One of the biggest focuses of the last year, right, has been this pandemic and everything that we're going through. So, you know, from the standpoint of being the director of StartGNV, what are some of the conversations happening? Are you guys going to be having, you know, live events? Do you guys see us coming out of this sometime soon? What's kind of like the gauge with the board and some of the stuff, some of the conversations?
Well, you know, I'm definitely not a public health expert, but
right.
We have determined as an organization that the best thing we can do is do what everybody else is doing, which is play it by ear, right? Mm-hmm. So we're moving forward, inching slowly. We just had our first successful brewery event, which was super social safe. Everybody was distanced appropriately, and we have this really fun like slogan where it's like mask up, drink, mask up again. So we've done some very small stuff and really try to keep it at less than 20 people, and definitely outdoors, and very strongly like implement all of the county measures for safety.
I'm just glad to see it starting to come back. Man, I missed it. I really missed it.
Yeah. And then we're hoping to, do some bigger events as more and more people get vaccinated, and try to respect that people have quarantine bubbles. So I think we'll do a pretty nice event in the spring where people can sit together in their little quarantine bubbles, social distance apart from each other. So it's a chance to get out with you and your kids and your family, right?
Yeah.
And you can still do something while not directly interacting with someone. And then I think we're praying that by like fall and winter, we'll be able to really get back to like full force StartGNV mode and do big events.
Yeah, I really hope so.
I hope so too.
Keeping my fingers crossed.
I know.
My prayers.
It's hard to tell, but you just have to like reevaluate it, like, every couple of weeks and say, all right, what's the shift? Like, are we going to pivot? Are we going to do this COVID friendly style? Are we going to do this virtually? We'll figure it out. So we're just trying to keep people engaged the best way we can, no matter what.
Yeah. This has been really interesting. And I'm like, I guess my final question would be, how can we as a podcast help StartGNV, help Gainesville? Anything that we can do to kind of help you guys?
I mean, keep doing what you're doing. We love the fact that you are like so pro Gainesville, pro like entrepreneur. I think this is just such a great resource for people to find out about what's great about Gainesville and like what's great about having a business in Gainesville. Beyond that, come to our events. We would love to see you guys. We would love to have you participate. We're doing an upcoming event on diversity in the innovation ecosystem. It's going to be a really stellar chat. So just be our friend and show up, and we will do the same for you.
Well, that's easy. It's funny. Like I love Gainesville. I noticed that you said, in our little preliminary questions that we send out, that you're a military brat.
Yeah.
Okay. So what branch?
Navy.
I'm very my dad was in the Air Force.
Oh,
so like
okay.
I bounced around all over the place,
Right.
all over the place. And I tell everybody, I'm like, my 4 years at the University of Florida, that was the longest I ever lived in one place. So for me, like, Gainesville became my home through that. It was like, this is where I want to be.
Right.
And so I don't know, like I just love everything Gainesville. That was it. That was 4 years in one place. I'm like, what can I do to make this home? And obviously it's all an opportunity, and seized it and started my own business and been here ever since. And now it's 21 years in Gainesville. This has been more than half my life at this point. It's
Carpe scooter.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm excited for what's to come for this community, especially when I see great organizations like StartGNV and just a lot of the other organizations out there that are collaborating and really just pulling the community together, sharing resources to build a better Gainesville. And I don't know, it's awesome.
No, I think you like nailed it. Like I
love it.
Every day I get an email from someone. They're like, meet this person. We should do this thing together. And I'm like, this is wonderful. Like, this is what Gainesville is all about. So, I love that you reached out and wanted to work together and chat and be friends. And I just hope more and more people in Gainesville can do that.
Absolutely. Well, tell our audience where they can connect with StartGNV. Where can they find out more about the events? Where can they sign up for the new? Because I know you guys have a great newsletter that you send out, even with job. Yeah, are you doing that?
Yes.
You're the one woman show. You're doing it all. Because and even great job opportunities that are posted in there. Just for anybody who's looking, I've seen those newsletters coming out. You guys are doing really awesome AMAs. I mean, where can somebody sign up for this newsletter? Where can they find more information? How can they get connected to you guys?
It's so easy. We are in your face with all of our business. So we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. You can always go to startgnv.com to find all of those. We are everywhere. And if you sign up for our newsletter, you'll get job posts and all of those events right to your inbox. And we don't even send long newsletters. Isn't that nice? They're short.
Yeah, they're short. They're clean.
Yeah.
I read all of them. I'm like, man,
thank you.
Look at these jobs. Maybe I should go apply for one.
Right. You found out about all these great jobs.
Well, Lauren, thanks so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And lots of love to the team that makes this happen, you guys. James Leitner, Sarah Lentz, and my co-host Michael Dees, who's not here today. But Michael, we love you, man. And if you were driving and didn't have a chance to get the information of the sponsors that make this show possible, don't worry, we've got your back. Just go to whoagnv.com/sponsors. That will take you directly to our sponsor page, and we have all of the links right there, so you can link right out to them. And special thanks this episode to our friends at The Best Restoration. You guys, you need to have friends on your side when disasters happen. No, I'm not talking about the entire year of 2020. I'm talking about when that toilet overflows, that washing machine leaks, or when the pipe bursts in the wall, or if you're like us and you move into a building like this one and there's mold everywhere. No need to fear, because Jorge is there for you guys. We can speak firsthand to the quality of work that the best restoration puts out. And with their certified techs and state-of-the-art equipment, these guys are the masters of disaster. Give them a call at 352-353-0768. Again, that's 352-353-0768, or visit them at thebestrestoration.com. And of course, when you do, say, I heard you on the WHOA GNV podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go,
whoa.
Whoa. We will see you later. Bye.